Oh my. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first live Trek Canon episode. Look, today we're going to be talking about all sorts of things. Hopefully, some people have some questions that we'll be able to answer, but if we don't, look, let me tell you something. We're going to have some fun anyway. We are going to have some fun. So, I guess I'll start with my introductions. Look, this is the introductions, man. For anybody who's watched the channel for a while, you know that we talk about Star Trek. We talk about Star Trek from beginning to end. We dive deep into Star Trek, but that's not the only subject that we cover. We cover movies, man. We cover everything. We talk about everything, but mostly Star Trek. I wanted to dedicate my first episode here to Mr. Lance Reddick. Um, I became aware of Mr. Lance Reddick way back in the day, man, because he was a lover of Star Trek. As a matter of fact, Star Trek, William Shatner, the old series, is what got him into acting. I don't know if anybody is aware of that. I'm talking about him like I know him personally, but I got into him because of an image that he did a few years ago, a lot of years ago actually, where he was joking on Kunta Kinte, the part that LeVar Burton became famous for back in the day in Roots. But he was joking and clowning on LeVar Burton, man, and he got in his Kunta Kinte, outfit, but he had on a visor and a Federation comm badge on his naked chest, right? But ever since then, I thought that was pretty cool. And then for anybody to say that they got into acting because of Star Trek or William Shatner or got into anything because of, I'm already a great admirer of your mentality and your judge of character and stuff like that. So let me put on my glasses, man, and let's get started. I see that right now it's just us in here, me and myself and I, but that's fine. I don't get to see me roll. But so Lance Henriksen, man, Lance Reddick, he also was in a very good show of mine called Fringe that I really, really loved. He was the head thing like that. Fringe was one of those series that starts off really strong. By the time you get to season 4, though, kind of goes downhill. And I realized that that's something that Bad Robot is kind of known for, ever since what was it, Lost? So let's talk about Star Trek. We'll talk about Star Trek Picard because uh, that's what's on my mind. We'll talk about Star Trek Picard first. So everybody, know what's going on with Star Trek Picard, man. And I think now that they have gotten Alex Kurtzman out the way, somebody who has said that he doesn't really like Star Trek. He doesn't Star Trek, which is I found odd that they would put somebody like this in in charge of Star Trek, man. Who would do that? That's the crazy thing I ever heard. So let me see. Hello. I know, right? How you doing, Michael Dodd? So, and welcome. So the thing about uh people who don't watch Star Trek is because Star Trek has such an intricate past. You know what I mean? To call it the Trek Cinematic Universe, the TC Trek Cinematic Universe, yeah, STCU. But anyway, the Trek Cinematic Universe, man, is large. If we go by show chronology, all right, it's going to be what the Enterprise, Discovery, the original series, the Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine. Let me see what else: Picard, Lower Decks, Strange New Worlds, Discovery. And so there's a lot. There's hours and exactly. There is just hours and hours and hours of Star Trek that if you're not familiar with and you come in trying to write, you're not familiar with, and you come in trying to be a showrunner, you're gonna mess up a whole lot of things. And I'm gonna tell you, end up pissing a lot of people off, which is what happened with the first and second season of Picard and with all of the seasons so far of Discovery. That was one of the things, when I first heard about Discovery coming out and the situation that Discovery was going to be in, I was thinking to myself, hold up. We have so many prequels. Enterprise was a prequel. All right. we have so many prequels that I don't really want to go into that. And if I am to go into a prequel scenario in Star Trek, then let it be something that is something that was big in the past, the eugenics wars, the things that Section 31 got into at the founding of the Federation. Exactly. It feels like an anti-fan. See, I'm glad you brought up Stargate Universe. Look, first of all, I am a huge Stargate fan. I'm a huge Stargate fan, like SG1 and Atlantis. Universe. Let me tell you what happened. This is what I personally believe about why I love Stargate so much. The reason I think I love Stargate so much was because a lot of the writers from Star Trek at the time went over to Stargate. And a lot of the stories that's in Stargate are recycled stories that where they changed a few, changed a little bit of this, changed a little bit of that, and made it its own in Stargate. Think of the replicators; they come directly from the board. Think of the human form replicators. You can think of them as like changelings, So let's see, because remember at the start of SGU, the producer said in so many words. Look again. You know what? Stargate Universe started off. The premise of Stargate Universe I thought was awesome. So you guys are on this ancient ship that its whole mission in life is to go around the galaxy seeding stargates. One, that lets us know where the stargates came from. How did all these stargates get to worlds? You know what I mean? Like you can't just, you can't walk a stargate through a stargate and put it on a world that ain't never had a stargate. So the premise of that show was great. Okay, we on this ship that we can't control, don't know where it's going, don't know what it's doing, but we know that it's putting down stargates on planets all around the galaxy. That's this whole thing. But they messed it up, man. I don't know if you guys remember the SG1 spoof where they was talking about what was it? Where Marty had came and he was pitching and they was pitching show ideas to him. Do you remember that one of the pitches that they gave to Marty was one of the pitches that they gave to Marty was, hey, what if we had a Stargate and everybody was young and it was drama and all that kind of stuff? And they was like, nah. That's exactly what they did with Stargate Universe. Exactly what they did with Stargate Universe. The point of Stargate was the characters, but how the characters went about exploring these planets. And that's what they lost in Discovery. You know what I mean? So let's get back on it because let me talk about this. Because in both of them, they lost what was happening. So what made Stargate and what made Star Trek so great is the underdog going out, meeting people. These people that we meet shine a light on the social issues of humanity that we have now. All right. Think of what was that Stargate episode where it had Barkley in it, and he was the gangster, and he had everybody, but he had everybody inside that AI game and everything like that. And they was just looking for they ended up putting the SG1 team into the game because they needed new movies and new experiences. Things like that are reasons why Stargate and Star Trek is so beloved. Yeah, we got the pim, but it's the interaction with the humans. Discovery lost that. The overarching storyline of Discovery was, all right, we're gonna find this red lady. We're not really gonna discover new life and new civilizations. Then why are we doing Star Trek? In Deep Space Nine, they had an overall arcing storyline. But what did they do? We still went and discovered new life and new civilizations. So I say, hey, let's have him meet a wonderful woman after the chick he desired dated the married soldier. Oh, wait, woman is dead. Look, that's the thing. I remember, one of the reasons I started this channel was because I was a big fan of, I don't know if you guys know him, but Lore Reloaded. I was a big fan of Lore Reloaded. Like I used to watch his videos because of how he used to break down how he felt about the Star Trek episodes and how one tied into the other. Yeah, it was a lot of stuff that he missed, that I used to clown him on. But overall, he did a pretty good job. And this is another thing. Another reason I started this channel is because I go to look at people's channels and I, start, consuming what they have about Star Trek. And somewhere in one of their videos, they will say the following thing. Well, I only watched this series, but I've never watched this series. I've watched The Next Generation, but I didn't watch Deep Space Nine. I watched Deep Space Nine, but I didn't watch Voyager. I didn't like Enterprise. I didn't see all those episodes. Well, this is the thing. Then I don't know if those people are really qualified to speak intellectually on a Star Trek cinematic universe, man. You can't be like, well, I've never seen Iron Man, but I'm gonna tell you what's going on in Endgame. Like, come on, man. You ain't seen Iron Man and you trying to tell me? No. So with Lore Reloaded, he used to comment a lot about Star Trek and everything. And like I said, some good stuff. But whenever I used to challenge him on, well, what do you think about how that connected with Deep Space Nine? He said this. Well, I've never watched Deep Space Nine. Oh, no. Nope. I cannot trust your Star Trek channel right now because you haven't watched one of the best, if not the best series of Star Trek ever put forth to TV, man. Come on, man. Come on. But that's how that went. Now, let's talk about, some of the fact, how Picard is getting a lot better, because season 1 and 2, man, like I said, when you kick somebody out that doesn't know what's going on with Star Trek and you get somebody in that has a monica of respect for the genre, for the IP, you get this season. Like I call Discovery and I call Picard season 1 and 2 my stepkids of the Star Trek universe. And I'm glad that I was able to let Picard out the corner, for the last season, but we're going to have to see. I'm looking forward to Discovery, actually. I'm actually looking forward to Discovery because I wasn't looking forward to Picard, and they started kicking butt in the 3rd season and in their final season. So hopefully, they will be able to pull Discovery out because, I root for Discovery, man. I ain't gonna lie. I root for Discovery. Why? Because it is a Star Trek franchise. I root for Discovery because it is a Star Trek franchise. But I have to be honest, man. If it's some bad writing, it's some bad writing. If it don't fit into canon, it don't fit into canon. You know what I mean? So if you doing stuff that ain't that, then I'm gonna watch your show. Why is anybody else gonna watch your show, man? Who are you trying to attract with this? You know what really threw me off with Discovery? I'm gonna tell you what really threw me off with Discovery. What really threw me off with Discovery was, do you guys remember? I think it was like one of the last episodes of like the last season where they were fighting and they went into the holodeck. I mean, not the holodeck. They went into the turbo lift and they was fighting in where the turbo lifts are supposed to be traveling through the channels in the turbo lift, and they had like all that space in there. Where the turbo lifts are supposed to go. That is where they left me, right? It was a lot of stuff before then. That's where they left me. I didn't think, but I'm hoping that they could bring that out. I'm hoping they can bring that out. Now, how did you guys like that new Intrepid? The Intrepid from this last episode of Picard. How did you guys like that Intrepid? That design, like I said in a review of that episode, that design was beautiful to me. You know what I mean? There's certain designs that are beautiful. The Enterprise J is beautiful. I know it looked like the salsa section had like a Sovereign class design to it, but the secondary hull, well, the primary hull down there, it had a totally unique design to it. The way it flowed into the nacelles, how it came down into the deflector dish, everything about it was smooth, but it did have that Sovereign salsa section, which I thought was nice. But look, that was one of the most beautiful parts in that episode, man. Let me see. Honestly, I'm happy. My biggest gripe of season 1 Picard was the copy paste. Oh, look, I'm gonna tell you some gripes about my season 1 thing. Let me tell you my gripes about season 1. My gripes. This is my gripes. Everything. Let me tell you what I mean by everything. Let me tell you what I mean by everything. And I kind of was hoping not to go into a rant about season 1 and 2 of Picard, but this is the thing. One, they never mentioned Robert and his nephew. They haven't mentioned them at all. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, in the season where Picard was investigating his mom and everything like that, I think it was season 2. They never ever even showed them in the flashbacks. You never even heard his older brother in the flashbacks. You know what I mean? So that was one. The second thing is the respect that they were given, the respect that Captain Picard had. Look, let me finish my thought. Now I'm gonna get on that. But the respect that he had at Starfleet, you know what I mean? Was like, so you gonna tell me sheer fucking hubris? Like, I'm gonna walk in and you don't even know who I am? Come on, dude. That's not Picard. That is not Picard. Everybody know Picard. You know what I mean? With his exploits, everybody know Picard. If they don't know him simply because of his exploits, they know him because he's Locutus. You know what I mean? It's gonna be either of those two things. You know what I mean? So then Dodge and Dodge and the androids and how they went into the AI thing, man, and how they made all of the progress that we did with Measure of a Man and with the exocomps and stuff like that. So now, and the stuff that Guinan said about, hey man, if you make these people, man, you're gonna have a slave race. So not only did we just forget about all that, we start the season with Starfleet officers treating AI androids like they were treating them. Come on, man, that's not no. And then the AIs go crazy and destroy, start destroying Mars Utopia. Look, no. So no. And then season 2. Look, so it was the same ship. Now, as far as that cut and paste, in all battle sequences that has ever been put forth to screen or has ever been put forth on pages of comic books, all right, every time that there is a fleet of ships, all right, the only thing that's going to look similar is 2 types of ships: the Galaxy class and those little fighters that I think are unmanned. All right, you will have a few cut and paste of those, but other than that, you're going to have mostly every other ship represented that the Federation has, man. Galore class, Ambassador class, Nebula class, Galaxy class, Defiant class, Intrepid class, Constitution class. You will have all that. All right. You're not gonna have Riker pull up with some things that look like he didn't mess with the sensors to make a sensor glitch to fill up the sky with all these ships, man. Come on. Come on. It also ignored the whole Voyager storyline of the Doc getting his exactly. So we know for a fact. We know for a fact that the AI in Star Trek, if no matter what it is, it don't even have to be AI. Any type of sentient or even any type of entity, being, whatever, that even is questioned to be sentient, everything stops. There's an investigation. We need to figure this out. You know what I'm saying? If he is sentient, we need to give him some rights. We need to ask him, hey man, do you choose to do this? And Picard, can you imagine them asking any of those androids, hey man, androids, would y'all like to go into these little terrible conditions and everything? They even had to do that with the exocomps. Hey man, maybe you should ask the exocomps instead of just trying to make them do it. So what did we do with all of that progress that we made? We threw it right away in the first season of Picard, and I thought that was strange, man. So no, those fighters were, man, they were essentially butter knives in a gunfight and suicide for anyone fighting, but Starfleet put them in anyway because reasons. So I'm curious. I've never seen them manned. All right. I have seen them getting destroyed and used like pawns. And to me, they seem to be like when what was it? Not Way of the Warrior, man. It was the one where they was taking back the station. Not taking back the station, going back to Cardassia to take over that. But he said send the fighters in. He said deploy the fighters in the first wave or something like that. And the way that they moved, made it seem like they were unmanned, like they were drones. All right. It says, yeah, same design as the ship Chakotay had in episode 1 of Voyager. Look. Oh, we were talking about Discovery. Now, let me ask you, when Picard, let me ask you, in Discovery or Picard, name any of the sub characters. In Discovery, name anybody that's not Burnham, the first officer, and Tilly that was on the bridge. Name the person driving the ship. You know what I mean? So in Star Trek, everybody got a role. Everybody got an importance. You know what I mean? Exactly. Nobody in Discovery, ball red chick or the ball blue chick. Either way, I know for a fact it's a black dude on the bridge of Discovery, right? I know for a fact it's a black dude on the bridge of Discovery. Ask me what his name is. Ask me what his rank is. No clue. No clue. I knew who Chekhov was by the second episode that Chekhov was in. I spent the first and second season of Discovery not knowing who the crew was. Like the crew was so well known on the Next Generation, right? Oh, look, Lorca. Let me tell you what's funny about Lorca. He was cool, but let me tell you what's funny about Lorca. It was something said in canon that Spock said that made Lorca's whole being there that long wrong. Spock said in Mirror Mirror, he said the reason that he found out that Kirk's and them replacements on a normal Enterprise ship is because it is a lot harder for a sane person to act crazy than for a crazy person to act sane. That being said, you mean to tell me that nobody on the ship, Starfleet, nobody know that this crazy ass dude was trying to be sane? No, get out of here. Get out of here with that. No. That simple statement from Spock. Hey, and I done met some crazy people, and they can't act sane. I'm sorry, they can't act sane at all. But that's how, Lorca, man. And then to have Michelle Yeoh, the great Michelle Yeoh, in the series and have her like that. Like, look, let me tell you. First of all, what kicked off Discovery wrong with me is you finna have a first officer. First whole introduction to everybody who's lifelong truckers, everybody who knows in their mind that mutinies do not happen aboard Starfleet ships. Her first act in episode 1, 10 minutes in, knock out the captain and make mutiny. This is our main character 10 minutes into the first season, first episode. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Come on. So that was that thing as far as that. And let's talk about Michelle Yeoh, because for the longest of times they was talking about how she would get her own show, Section 31. They was kind of writing her towards that. All right. This is the thing. We already know that Star Trek is not going to have any more movies because Bad Robot jacked that all up. And yeah, that's not going to happen. As far as any series that Bad Robot was going to be putting out, and Alex Kurtzman and all those guys, I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. The second thing is that if they were to make a Section 31, and that's what they was planning on doing, and they were trying to have Michelle Yeoh, the fact that she won the Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once means that she's either going to be too expensive or she's going to have so many projects in the works that she's going to opt to do those instead. So I safely see Michelle Yeoh. Yeah, they ain't gonna be able to afford it. I safely see Michelle Yeoh being off. I don't see how they could afford it the first time. Like, look, I've been following Michelle Yeoh ever since I was a kid, back in the days when she was fighting with Cynthia Rothrock, right? Back in the days where, I used to call her just the prettiest little boy ever. Look, Michelle Yeoh, I had a crush on that pretty little boy. No, Michelle Yeoh is awesome, man. She used to kick butt with Cynthia Rothrock, man, then start going to her own movies. I was glad when Hollywood first looked at her, man, and put her in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And then she went on from there to make, what was it, Hero? Hero with Jet Li and Donnie Yen and all that, man. Look, let me tell you something. Michelle Yeoh is awesome. And so when I seen her getting ready to go into Star Trek Discovery, that was my main. I'm like, oh, snap. And then you going to kill her? And had a Klingons eat the first episode. First, that's what we're doing. That's what we're gonna do. And then bring over the crazy Empress Yo. Who look, let me tell you though, I loved Empress Georgiou. I loved Empress Georgiou. Empress Georgiou was all right with me. She was all right with me. She played that role. She played that role well. You know what I mean? So let's talk about the changelings in the new series, in the new Picard. You could tell that they put a lot of production value into the series. When you think about how the changelings looked in, say, Deep Space Nine, when you think of how the changelings looked, how they moved, you know what I mean? It was nice for the day. But when you rewatch Deep Space Nine, you'd be like, it's a little cheesy. The way that they did the changelings in this reminds me of the Blob, that 1980s, Blob, how it moves and all that kind of stuff. You can see the material inside of it, that they hadn't got rid of it yet. The little tentacle and little, arms coming off of it. The thing is, though, I had a question about the changelings in the new Picard, and this was the thing. So, changelings, they can take on the shape and appearance of anything they see. All right. So are you trying to tell me that the changelings in Deep Space Nine, in that series, when they're scanned by a medical scanner or scanned by the computer or scanned by internal scanners, right? Are you telling me that that they're picking up no internal organs inside the changelings? Because I was under the assumption that when a changeling changed into somebody, it was that thing, you know what I mean? Unless they wasn't good at it, like, for instance, Odo. All right. But if you think of people like, what was his name? Lance, Lau, the one that they met flying in Spaceman, and he came on board the ship and everything. And he wasn't going for none of that, turned into the mist. He was one of the most adept changelings that was ever featured in Star Trek. But Lars, I think his name was Lars. I think his name was Lars. But anyway, so are you trying to tell me then that they went through all these blood tests and scanning and upgrading scanners and all that stuff when all they had to do was use a medical tricorder to figure out that they just full of gel inside? I find that extremely hard to believe. So I find this natural evolution of changes to where they can make internal organs and all that stuff. I'm thinking that should have been something they should have always been able to do. Now, the blood, totally different. And being able to attach themselves to a biological like the Romulan lady did with her hand is an outstanding way to sneak past scanners and all that stuff too, and keep an eye on the person that you controlling. It kind of reminds me of something that the Shadows, the things that the Shadows put on you that was out of phase, nobody could see it, but it was controlling all the emperors of the Centauri, But let's talk about Deep Space Nine. So everybody knows that Deep Space Nine has got comic books that's now in the works from IDW. Now, they've been kicking butt. They've been kicking butt with the comic books. The last issue covered a Borg Yorkie that Quark was smuggling. Now, this new one is basically the God Killer that made his way to the what was it? I want to say that. Do you remember the episode, The Last Outpost? It was in the Next Generation, Last Outpost, the first episode that Ferengi was in, and the Takan, right? So I don't know why I forgot that. Anyway, the God Killer is now trying to kill members of the Takan Empire, members of the Takan Empire, and Cisco ends up going to Romulus, with the ship Theseus, and running across Spock. Spock ends up joining the crew of the Theseus to basically help out with this situation. Now, they end up becoming refugees, or I guess not rebels, outlaws from the Federation as well. The Theseus is destroyed, crash lands on Romulus, and they end up commandeering the Defiant. So, what did I just say? You got Cisco, Data, Spock, right? All trying to find the God Slayer on board a commandeer Defiant, running from the rest of the Federation. Come on, that's an outstanding comic book, people. That's an outstanding comic book. Now, let's talk about the movies that's going to be coming up in Star Trek. Ain't gonna be none. Ain't gonna be none. Chris Pine, according to interviews with him, he's kind of like, look, man, we ain't finna get into this. I don't know what's going on. Everybody that they talk to as far as the Star Trek movies, look, and I am glad, because those Star Trek movies sucked. Yeah, they made a lot at the box office, but with actual Trekkers, no, and it can be sustained. I was hearing talks about them trying to rework the Trek universe to whereas they would put the timeline back on its normal path instead of the Kelvin timeline. Kelvin timeline. I don't know what they was thinking with the Kelvin timeline. I really don't know what they was thinking. Anybody who is familiar with Star Trek would know that you have the USS Relativity, time agents, all kinds of stuff that would have totally prohibited that. You know what I mean? Like, hell, Doctor Who would have came and prohibited that. Now you're saying that Doctor Who, man, what you talking about Doctor Who? He ain't got nothing to do with Star Trek. Yes, the Trek cinematic universe includes Doctor Who, X-Men, Scooby-Doo, Hanna-Barbera. Look it up. It is canon, right? The time of Spock nerve pinch Wolverine, canon. Yeah, canon. The Trek cinematic universe is huge. But the last thing I wanted to talk about, and I had kind of touched on a little bit earlier with people like Lore Reloaded and guys like that. Another really good one is Doomcock. Early on in their video, I was always there looking, listening to what they had to say. Like I said, I didn't agree a lot with most of the stuff that they had to say, but I liked their analysis. Nowadays, everybody seems to keep talking about woke in Star Trek movies, and to me, Star Trek has always been diverse. Star Trek has always fought for diversity. Star Trek has always featured members of the LGBTQ. And I'm not talking about Sulu. I'm talking about Dax. Yeah, Dax is bisexual. Argue with me. Yeah, Dax is bisexual. All right. Jadzia Dax is bisexual. Now, the thing is that having diversity in your show, having equality in your show, all right, not having the focus be a WIT individual or person in charge of the ship or the group or the process, that has always been something that Star Trek has had. A lot of the admirals, hell, almost half the admirals in Star Trek canon were black guys. Daystrom, black dude, one of the smartest people in Trek history, Dr. Daystrom, black dude. It's a lot of diversity in Star Trek. Strong women, you know what I mean? Hell, what was her name? Captain Rachel Garrett, Dax, Kira, you know what I mean? Crusher, like all of these people are. It's always been that way. We have minorities. We had Russians. We had Japanese people. We had black people from Africa. You know what I'm saying? We got Irish people that's playing French dudes. You know what I mean? So when I hear a person talking about, and it's mostly them, when I hear people talking about some, Star Trek is woke and Michael Burnham is, and la 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 la. Look, there are extreme criticisms that you can levy against Michael Burnham. There's a lot of justifiable criticisms that you could levy against Discovery, period, Picard, period. But what I'm not going to do, all right, is let people sit up here and talk about Star Trek being too woke. All right. If your issue is equality in media, equality in representation, if that is your problem, then I really don't care about your thought process. You know what I mean? And I'm I already find now I find everything you say suspect. Just like that one lady couldn't even give a definition of what it is. And I found that when people do give a definition of what woke is, trying to argue against it just shows that you are a bigot and a racist. You know what I mean? So once your channel starts to get bigoted, once your channel starts to get racist, once your channel starts to politicize everything that has to do with entertainment, then I can no longer support that. You know what I mean? I like entertainment to entertain, whether that's a man, whether that's a woman, whether that's LGBTQ, somebody from that community. You know what I mean? Whether it's black, white, orange, green, Orions. Anyway, but that's how it is. And you can't proclaim to be a Trekkie. You cannot proclaim to be a Trekkie, right? And be against diversity or have a question about diversity or representation, because Trek is filled with nothing but all of that. All of that. So I don't trust influencers when they get on and talk about Star Trek and start talking about it being woke and start belittling everything. If there's actual criticisms to levy, then let's do it. But I love Star Trek. I'm going to tell you the good stuff about Star Trek or any other things that I watch, right? And I'm going to tell you the bad things that I experienced with it as well, all right? I've never wanted Discovery to be canceled. I've never wanted Picard to be canceled. Why? Because they are Star Trek properties. What I would like is for them to be written properly, okay? Believe it or not, when the first season of The Next Generation came out, sucked, all right? When the first season of Deep Space Nine came out, it sucked. When the first season of Voyager came out, it sucked. Everybody got to find a position of their characters, how these characters relate to each other, and how they progress. All right, that's fine. But if you suck in second season, third season, if you ain't listening to none of your core constituents, if your fans keep telling you to do something and you know what I mean. So, as far as Star Trek goes, man, I'm looking forward to all of the iterations that's going to be coming up with the cancellation of Discovery and Picard. That's going to reduce us to Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds and Prodigy, which I think Prodigy is going to be on his last leg as well. And Lower Decks, I believe, is on the last leg as well. I don't know about Strange New Worlds being canceled or not, because I really enjoyed the first season of Strange New Worlds. It actually brought me back to hoping that, believing that, hey, people can actually still write some Star Trek. You know what I mean? So I think I done made it a little long. I appreciate everybody who joined. Mr. Michael Dodd, thank you, sir. Thank you for being here with me, so I wouldn't feel all by myself and lonely. Feel like I'm just talking to the screen. I'll tell you what. Whenever I join a live video, right, one of the things that irk me, right, is if I say hi to somebody or I ask a question of the person whose live feed I decide to set time aside for, and they don't even acknowledge it. They don't even be like, hey, what's up? Or, scroll through and, answer the questions. I understand if you got like a billion people on your, in your thing, but, it'd be people that had like 20 some people in there, they can't answer questions or engage the people who is taking the time to, to engage with me back and liking the material. So I like to say thank you for asking questions, for joining in, man, for talking, for talking with me. Like I said, so I won't feel like it's just me out here loving Star Trek. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. Anybody who's going to see this later, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for joining with me on my first ever Canon Knights Corner. So you guys be cool. Peace, recycle, and say the wells.